Hi, this is Jeremy Windemaller, Trial Manager here at Walters Gardens. Today we're going to talk about Nepeta. Nepeta is one of my favorite perennial plants. It's very long blooming in the garden, takes a lot of drought, and is also very tough and easy to care for. And then a new intro this year is Kitten Around. And this one is a lot like Persian Blue, but more compact yet, which makes it even nicer for a border plant. Or even if you're a grower and you have a quart program you want to put a Nepeta in, this is a great option. This one's just starting to bloom, so you don't see quite as much color on that yet, but you can see a nice habit and a nice compact plant with a great vigor again. So Nepeta are offered in two different sizes. We offer them as a grade 1 bare root plant, which is great for spring plantings, for quick turn crops in 1 gallon containers. And we also offer a 72 count plug for spring planting, or you can do a late summer planting for the following season for early season sales. That makes it easier to force. And also you can plant it throughout the summer. Because Nepeta don't require vernalization, they're going to bloom reliably no matter what. So as far as finish times go, a bare root plant you can expect to finish in a gallon pot in around 6 to 8 weeks. And the 72 count will take a little bit longer. In a trade gallon pot, you're going to expect around 8 to 10 week finish time. Nepeta love warmer temperatures, so they're much easier to grow in a warmer greenhouse for the early season, but you want to provide a lot of light. They're a high light level loving plant, so just make sure that they're not put in a hoop house with white poly if you're trying to force them. So as far as fertility goes, they're moderate feeders, so moderate to light feeders. I would say we feed these around 75 to 100 parts per million. Nitrogen as a constant liquid feed. That's a good range to be in there. Just avoid overfeeding as they can become leggy. As far as pH goes, you want 6 to 6.5 is a good range to be in, as well as the EC levels of 1.5 to 2. And as I mentioned earlier, vernalization is not required, but I do find it beneficial. I think the best quality plants come from something that was planted either from a vernalized bare root plant or a plug the season prior and gone through a vernalization of around 6 to 9 weeks. So often you can find aphids, leafhoppers, spider mites, white flies can be a problem, but just scout on a regular basis, and as long as you're treating as necessary, you shouldn't have much of a problem. As far as diseases go, as I mentioned earlier, these are dry loving plants, so if they're kept too wet for too long, that can introduce root and crown rots into your crop, so you want to make sure you avoid that. Now, Nepeta do like to be spaced adequately. You can see some of these get fairly wide, so you want to make sure that the crops are not pot to pot once they start getting to the edge of the container. And planting depth for bare root plants, crowns should be even with the soil line, and for plugs, the top of the plug should be even with the soil line. If PGRs are desired, typically on these varieties they're not needed as much because of their compact habit. But since Cat's Meow is more of the intermediate size, a PGR application might be necessary, especially if the light levels are on the lower side. We recommend applying 2 to 3 sprays of a product like Bonsai or paclobutrazol at 30 parts per million. Or you can use Sumagic or Concise, which is uniconazole, at a spray of 5 parts per million. And you want to apply those at 7 to 10 day intervals. And once, you want to start applying once the plant reaches 4 to 6 inches in height. Nepeta planted from small plugs do benefit from a light pinch early on in production to increase the branching. Bare root plants usually will not require pinching, as there are many eyes developed on that plant already. And one last thing to remember about forcing Nepeta into flower is they do require long days for flowering, so you need to provide at least 14 to 16 hour days for the flowers to initiate. And this is Jeremy Windemaller for Walters Gardens, and thanks for listening in on this video on Nepeta.